Now that I'm recording. Alright, so... Oh, hell yes, NL. Yep. Clammy, my boy. We'll be showing how I make roller coasters in No Limits 2. I guess today's portion will just be making, the layout. How am I doing? Doing alright? I already have a pre-save file, and I'll be showing how to make, or how I make, a roller coaster by using the B&M dive coaster. So, it'll be fun. Just see how to do this. Oh, you'd be surprised. So how I usually start out is I usually use the right view or the top-down view. I never really use perspective unless I'm looking at something like right on or when it's rendered. That's just how I am. And I always have the foregrids going on. So if you see like a lot of moving around like this, I'm sorry if it like hurts your eyes after a while, but it's what I do. You just start out with a simple spot, and this won't be anything like too crazy. It's just gonna be like a simple roller coaster. It's not gonna be like, anything crazy. Anyway, so something isn't showing. Next, I'm doing a dive coaster. 3 cars per train. See how that looks. And I always use the heartline function. Always, especially on B&Ms. You always want to use heartline. Yeah, we'll do without scoops, I guess. I mean, I'm not really gonna use any water. Okay. For some reason, something is not displaying, and that is the wireframe track, and that's kind of bothering me. Oh well. Oh, okay, so it's below it. I'm an idiot. Yeah, because it's R-lined. I'm stupid. Usually about 30 feet is where I go, and when I do actually make it 30 feet, I always raise the land by. It depends on what I feel like. It could be either. It could stay at the 3 feet, or it could be as much as 20 feet. So a station could literally be literally only like 10 feet above the ground. So, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm probably gonna do about 15 is my default. What am I doing? So next thing I do is draw this out more, make it more straight, and then true. feet. Keep it at 30 feet. Might be kind of cold. Now, coaster station length usually depends. I don't know because Tycoon, most people make it like 5 or 6 tiles for a station, but this isn't tiles. This is actual distances. So usually you want to leave a little bit of room in the front and back when you make the station. You don't want to like make it too crazy long, but you don't want to make it like short, whereas the trains are actually sticking out like that. It's always comical to see that. But that seems that's usually a good length to go with. Usually I get something like that. In the case of a dive coaster, this is like my second time ever making one, and this about this length would be pretty good. Maybe just a tad shorter. And for fun, we'll freeze it. I do a lot of freezing to see how it looks before, like right after I draw it out, and then after I actually smooth it and make it look good. The program just crashed. Right? you always got to freeze it just to make sure it all looks good. I don't know why it took so long. I guess the colors are fine. I don't really care about the colors too much. I might tweak that off stream, honestly. Anywho, so that seems to be okay for a height. It could be a little taller, so I might actually increase it by about 5 feet, and then we'll do the lift hill. Normally I go right into the lift hill. Dive coasters, they kind of just do that. Some B&Ms could have like pre-lifts, or anything can really have pre-lifts, but in this case, it's gonna go right to the lift. So we're gonna freeze it. Increase it about maybe by about 5 feet would be pretty good, I say. Because it's heartlined, it's gonna dip below where the actual thing is. Which, shall we double check something real quick? Yeah, it usually kind of just dips below where the actual vertice is. So I just find that strange. Now normally I would do the brake run first, and then I do the lift hill. I don't know why I do that. I think it's just because I'm weird. I like to get the brake run, so this way I kind of get a good idea of how the coast is going to be laid out and how it's going to end a lot better. So let's make that real quick. This is a B&M. I would like to make a sloped one. And every time you kind of place a new vertice, everything kind of just jumps forward. It's weird. I don't like that too much, but you gotta live with it, I guess. About that long, and then turns into the brake run. Got a straight piece. You want to strict that one. Okay. And then do a slight, kind of just raise it. Kind of like that. You don't want it to be like too noticeable. You want it to be like, you don't want it to be like this steep. You want it to be like even more gradual than that. Kind of like this would work out pretty good. You don't want it to be like crazy steep. You want it to be kind of very gradual like this. This could work. This could probably work. And this is just gonna have trim brakes on it, and that'll be the actual brake run. We do that. Yeah, block brake. Brake. A little bit too. Maybe about. Try to aim for 20. Then make this about 10. And I just put it about 0.9 Gs. It's normal what I do. Okay. And then station departure is something I would do after, and that would be normally I do 7 or 6 miles an hour. The older coaster models, like say an Arrow or Schwarzkopf or something, I would normally do 6, but newer models I like to do 7. I don't know why. It doesn't really matter in the long run because it's just going up the lift hill. That will be strict. This won't be, and this one will. And then draw that one all the way out. So strict this one. Strict this one. And then I can kind of affect how smooth the transition from this to the steep lift hill will be. And we'll put this all the way up to about 120 feet. Or a little higher. 138. There we go. There we go. And just to make sure it looks good, or the transition is not like too crazy, I usually like to look at it in here, maybe even freeze it in a minute here. And hell, I might even actually move it back a bit because it looks like it's too far forward. You always got to check the perspective. That's why I have the quad view on, so you can check all the perspectives like that. So like I can see it here, it's like, okay, that looks too long, or that's too short, or it's just right. And here I can view it in 3D and then be like, oh, okay, so I gotta shorten it by this much. And I have the two views ready just so I can, you know, like let's say something's more like this way, I can change it, or if it's this way, I'll change it. So in this case, yeah, I'm gonna change it so it's not so far away from the station. Okay, and then place type separator all the way up here, and make that the lift hill. Now the lift hill, 7 miles an hour works. It works as well. I would recommend making it as fast as the station, unless you're making a Togo or anything that has like a really shitty lift hill. Just make it 7 miles an hour for your typical coaster. But if again Togo or anything like crappy, just make it like I don't know, 5 or 4. That looks pretty good. That's pretty much the beginnings of your coaster, or my coaster, I guess. G Forces, obviously, there's nothing because it's only going up a lift hill, and there's nothing coming from that way to show the forces. So there's no point in seeing G Forces. So I normally have speed on in the 3D perspective, and in here, I usually have G Forces on in these type of angles. And in top down, you can't really see the speed that well. As you can see, you can't really see it. So I use this to see lateral G's. So like say for example, I don't know, some stupid turn like that, you can see the lateral G's. That's where I normally would. This is probably the best angle to see them in my opinion. Space, I usually hit space to go into slide/modify. So here comes the part where I would do the we'll go to the top, and since this is being a dive coaster, we're gonna have a holding part. So let's make that. It's gonna go straight up like, oh. Yeah, no one has a weird like funky thing where it would turn like that out of nowhere. So it doesn't really matter you do it like that. About 3 vertices would work. Again, 2 of them would be strict. It'll be an inverse of the bottom. It'll be an inverse of this, pretty much. But maybe a little more steeper, or a little more quicker with the transition from that to that. So go straight for a little bit. And again, we'll view it in this to make sure it's all good. I might make this a little steeper. I might do that. Because it looks a little, I don't know, looks a little strange. Just double check to make sure everything's 35 feet. The end over would be about 36, wouldn't it? Like, something like that. Okay. And now for the fun part, the holding brake. Now, I have never ridden a dive coaster. There's no dive coasters near me. I've seen POVs, but I guess I never really paid attention enough to really know. I believe it kind of just separates from the. I think it's separate from the lift hill. That would make sense. So you would kind of do something like that, and then kind of just have it pretty much go vertical, but no limits. It's a little funky. You want to kind of, oops. You want to kind of not make it all the way vertical, and that looks incredibly steep, I know, but we're gonna fix that. I'm making it like so, and we're gonna move this out a little bit so it's not so painful looking. Again, we're gonna strict this one so it would be on the line with that. Or no, I'm sorry, no, you wouldn't strict that. Never mind. Normally I would, but in this case I wouldn't. Unstrict it. Ooh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Again, it looks incredibly steep, and just the G's will kill you because 14 vertical G's. That I think you'd pass out if not die. So we're gonna fix her up a bit here. We're gonna draw it out like so. Normally, I like to kind of keep the drops in between 4 to 5 Gs. So like anything that's higher than 4.8, I kind of like to tweak that a little bit. I kind of stretched the realistic factor a little too thin here with that, but it's all right. And it doesn't look incredibly steep. Anywho, so how to actually do the drop part? What you do is you actually turn it to a lift and you double click it. I'm sorry, no, you would hold down Alt and double click it. No, not even that. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, here. Dive coaster drop release mode right there. And then there we go. And that actually kind of fix it up a bit because it does look a little wonky. So we're actually going to move this whole thing out a bit more and make sure it's straight. So this way it's not so weird looking. And then also potentially move this up a bit more too. Like that's a bit better. That's actually a lot better. I was thinking I had to move it up more. Just double check it. And also you want to do catwalks. There too. And just we'll freeze the coaster to look at it when it's actually rendered up. Not sure why it's taking so long. There we go. It looks okay. From a distance, it looks okay. But up close, it's a little, um, I don't know, it looks a little strange. So I'm gonna have to like kind of fix that up a bit. Kind of probably move this more inward like that. So it's a little, so it's not so like steep of a drop. And if we go to track, we'll see how everything is. So as you can see, it goes up, 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 up. That, and then as you see, it's not good enough. It needs to be more steep here. It needs to pretty much be vertical like that in order for it, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm not too sure on this, but I believe it needs to be more vertical than that. Because this is where it would end. And that's no good. So it looks good from a distance, but when you actually ride it, it could be better. So let's fix that real quick. To fix that, I believe I just pretty much move it out more, like so. So it's actually straight with the rest of the track here. And move this down just a notch like that. There we go. There we go. That's good. Now that appears to be a lot better now. Let me just double check it by actually freezing the coaster and going back into the track mode. I interchanged perspective and track mode together. So now it looks a lot better. Before it was more like that, and now it's a lot more like this. So now you're more vertical on the drop, but still not quite there. It's close, but it's not quite there yet. So freeze and just tweak it up again. Move it forward, move this back just a notch, and I guess move this down more, I suppose. Save just in case of a crash. That looks to be pretty good. I think I'll live with that. Alright, so the next step is to do your typical dive coaster inversion. In other words, an Immelman. Or we can do an outright loop, or we can just do whatever we want because it's our coaster. We can do whatever we want. But just for sake of simplicity, we're just going to keep it simple, and we're just going to do what a typical dive coaster would do, and that is just do an Immelman of some sort. So vice versa, when it's like that's pretty much just draw out the shape of an Immelman, and then you kind of tweak it. Because if something was going around about 40 miles an hour over an Immelman, that's kind of fast. You kind of have to be a little slower than that. Normally, a safe zone between 15 and 25 miles an hour. That's probably the perfect zone. In fact, probably 25 miles an hour would be probably the best. But you're pushing it if you have 15, though. It's totally doable, but in my opinion, about 20 to 25 is like perfect. Pardon me. So I kind of like to do the rolls first, and then I like to, because you can't go in on the track like that. That's not how physics works. Or that's not how roller coasters work. You got to kind of have a shift. So the shift would go probably this way, This is where you would probably also consider where the entrance and exit would go on your coaster as well. For me, I like to kind of just play around a bit on whatever side I feel like, and then work with that. It doesn't really matter because, I mean, you can just design everything to go this way or that way. It doesn't really matter in the long run. So anyway, we're going to invert that, or just do 180. So when it actually goes upside down, it'll just do that. And the part where it's at the end, it will be at 0. It stops. And in just a moment here, I'll show you a neat trick with making the roll part, or the twist part of the implement. It's kind of a neat trick. So we're gonna highlight every single one of these vertices pretty much until it goes to about there. Is where you should probably stop. So you're gonna shift it a few notches to the right. Nothing too crazy because as you can see we have G forces here, you don't want it to be like crazy. So we're gonna stop that one. Move on to the next vertice, drag that over a couple notches, stop, next vertice. That's kind of how I do it. Or you can either just do the rotation function, that also works too, but I like to just do this select/modify thing. I could try rotation now, just to get my comfort zone a bit. Actually, no, I'm stupid, I'm sorry. And that is because, how fast is it going in? Oh yeah, I didn't really change it that much, so we're gonna highlight the whole thing. And this is where I would start using depump vertices, pretty much. Use it once, and then deselect these bottom ones, draw it outward and up. And then same process right here, outward and up like that. And we have a pretty good looking implement already. We start the speed here, it's going about 30 miles an hour, so it's kind of going a little faster. It could go a little slower. So the peak of this can actually go up just a tad bit as well. That. You want to have kind of a teardrop shape on your roller coaster, or on your loop, or any type of half loop, or anything that's like that, half loop, loop, or whatever, whatever part of a batwing or this implement, or even just regular loop. You want to kind of have it be a teardrop shape, and this kind of is. It's close enough. And the G forces are pretty stable too. They're pretty inconsistent though. You want to have a consistent G force of about 4-ish going around here, and as you can see, it kind of just goes from 4.3 to like 2. So this whole thing together has to be closer together. So I'm gonna have to move it like so. That, deselect that one, and then move it closer together to purposely induce more G forces on that spot. That'll be good enough. Check the speed again, and we're about 27, so I'll live with 27. It's okay. 27 will be just fine. So now what you want to do is you want to highlight everything. Up until, like I said, like kind of this point. Like if anything is higher than the halfway point, when it reaches about 90 degrees, that's when you should probably start doing the shift. Maybe a little less, like between 80 plus or minus like 80 degrees or whatever, is where I would recommend start doing the shift. So we'll just move it like that, move it to the side, just like that. And since this is a dive coaster, you're gonna have to kind of want this to be a little wide, so this might be a little too wide, so I'm gonna have to like rotate this back a little bit. deselect that one, and then rotate this next one just a bit. Too much. Deselect that one, just a hair, and then bam, there you go. You're all good to go. And since this is a little high up, I'm gonna have to lower this, so select all these and put it down to the ground. And make sure to turn the G forces on here. That's good. And just for good measure here, I'm going to highlight all this and rotate it along with. So there we go. So this way it's all straight. Make straight top, 2D top down. This only works if you highlight all of them in the top down display and if they're all in a row. So this way it just delivers a nice smoother ride. Go up a little higher with this. Go as high as we can. And we'll go to track. And we'll see how it goes. So we go down, go up. And there you go. That's the Immelman. Not too shabby. And it goes probably, if I had to guess, this is about a 90-foot high Immelman, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. This dive coaster isn't nothing really remarkable in records, but it's hitting me pretty well with the Immelman look here. And but there's actually one little problem here. If you notice back in the track, in fact, let me go back to that real quick. If you notice, the lateral G forces shift. They go from being more left to more right. And to fix that, you would add a couple more degrees to make sure it's all on the left. Or you can outright just move it back to fix it. Yeah, you want to keep it strict until about this point, and even then, you kind of don't want to strict this, but if you have to, go for it. Okay, back to track. Now you can see it doesn't noticeably really do that anymore, so therefore it's technically good. And having, as a side note, this is something I've noticed on a lot of Nolimits 2 coasters, is there appears to not be a lot of lateral G forces on the rides. And let me clear something up. It's okay to have laterals. Generally, for lateral Gs, you don't want to have any more than 1.5 plus or minus negative or laterals. So negative 0.54 laterals is actually really good. Like, in fact, that's probably good enough because you get that little thrust to the side when you're actually going through that inversion. That's a good thing. It's like it's kind of like, you know, you do a, I can't think of the word right now. I'm sorry, but like you want to have that good balance. That's what it is. I'm sorry. You want to have that good balance of G forces. Really, you don't want it to be too crazy, but you don't want it to be like tame because this is a roller coaster after all. Like you want it to be thrilling. You know, you want to have some G forces like that. So this is actually a good this is actually good. But if it was like more like this, that's where you kind of want to be a little more careful. Like this is probably too much. You want to have it more like negative 1.03 is manageable. Like that's probably perfect. And our next step is to make a 0G roll. 0G rolls are very easy to make. All it requires is making literally a hill, and it makes one hill. It could be an airtime hill, or like a little bunny hop hill, or whatever it is, and then it could be a. It takes 3 rolls to make, which is pretty easy. And this is where we're going to use the manipulation to have it so. As you can see, it comes out like this, and I'm gonna explain how you can make it have better flow later on when it comes out of that. So anyway, let's make our little bunny hop hill here. Very sloppy looking, but like I said, with the power of the computer, you can make it all nice and sexy looking. They're on. You don't want the 2 top vertices. Usually, I like to have 2 top pieces for the hill. It results in probably the best shape of the top of the crest of the hill. But you don't want to be too wide apart because something like this could happen. As you can see, it kind of has a bit of a flat zone where it kind of just stays straight for like that split second. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water there. I was getting thirsty talking too much. Anyway, so you don't want to have it be like flat. You don't have any flat pieces. You want it to be like that's the top. That's the top point, and then that's where it starts to descend again. So that's where the bottom of the hill will be. Anyway, so I highlight the whole thing up to that point, and we're gonna rotate it. Oh, I forgot one vertex. My apologies. Rotate. Rotate. Highlight all of this like so, and then make that top straight, and then rotate. So this is actually straight. Actually, my apologies. That's actually fine. You want more like that. There we go. Perfect. That's kind of how I get away with making yeah, the red spikes though. I know, right? I think this would kill you. Negative. Yeah, actually, vertical G is another interesting thing. So they're a little more wild in the sense that you don't want the vertical G's to be any more than -1 is probably the absolute limit. Maybe even that's kind of stretching it. But with vertical G's, like in the negatives, no more than -1. But for vertical G's like positives, probably about 4 to worth it for that airtime. Yeah, right. I could just raise it like that, but we're gonna fix her up here. School bus passing by. I forgot school started for the kids. Anyhow, that appears to be pretty good. About 4.5. I'm gonna raise that up to about not 90 feet. That's a little too high. Maybe like 86. Same with this one. And then, oof, man. Imagine going down a hill like that. I'm sorry, but let me look at this. Imagine going down a hill just like that. That would be a little insane. anyway, back on task here. I'd make an excellent teacher. This is probably more acceptable. Mm. Just smooth it out a bit, make it more round. And okay, so let me talk about flow real quick. So when I make a roller coaster, I usually like to have a really good flow. What I mean by that is, so let's say you go into a turn, and you enter in, and you bank right. Realistically, you want to have a good flow, because if you don't want to keep banking right or left, because then you're just going to get NASCAR the ride syndrome, or it's just going to be boring. You want to kind of mix it up as best you can. You don't want it to be like bank right and then bank right again and then a loop that's right. Like you don't want to focus on the right so much. You want to kind of mix it up a bit here. And with rolls, it's even more important, because let's say so you see how the roll comes out. It comes out from the left. So that means when I start the 0G roll, what I should do is I should start it from the right. It should start from the right, and then it should end on the left again. So like, watch, I'll show you what I mean. So here's the first one. You kind of want to keep this strict. You want to keep the two ends strict, unless you're going into a turn right away. In this case, I'm not. No, at least not yet. For now, this one's gonna stay strict for now. So anyway, so now the middle one, since it's a 0G roll, you want it to be 180. It does not have to be strict. In fact, don't make it strict. And as you can see, the way it enters is a bit strange. And let me rephrase what I said. Not from the right. I'm sorry, from the left. You want it to start. You want it to like go in from the left. So in order to fix that, because as you can see, it enters, it exits, and it does that again. Like, it's so strange how it does that. Or no, wait, it's right. No, I'm stupid. I'm just stupid. It's right. I'm not feeling it today. I'm really stupid. So in order to make it flow better, we're just gonna double check real quick. We're gonna go like this. It's just a roll. It comes out. So I'm gonna have to fix that a bit here to kind of smooth it out a bit here, and also to kind of make this not as I want it to be a little more drawn out in a sense. Like, probably lower this a bit. Nothing too crazy. Like that. Put it out. Okay. Nice. And just for fun, we're gonna do a test ride after this. I'll do a test ride just for fun to show you how bumpy this actually is. Okay, good. Let's check out the speed it's going at the top here real quick. That seems to be perfect, 38 miles an hour. That seems to be like a really good 0G. Wow. Alright, one last thing before we actually do a test run of this, and that is to make sure the entry and exit of the 0G is kind of the same. So let me actually do this in perspective because I feel like this would be best. So let's do nothing. So just start from the 1, just draw a straight line going through as best I can. So this has to come back a little bit to about there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it can be pretty close. It's probably best to start the 0G when it starts to get a pretty good slope like that. So like that, and then the endpoint, same thing, like somewhere about there. So this way, again, flow. Flow can happen a lot better. I know I keep saying flow, and you're like, well, what does that mean? But trust me, it makes sense. Okay. You don't have to bank you don't have to strict these actually, you can probably just leave them like that. So this way, but it doesn't really come out that nice. It's better, you're better off just stricting the 2 vertices. It might kind of look a little strange at first, but because you're snapping to 0 degrees right away, you're not. But in this case, it's probably best if you just keep the 2 vertices strict here, the end one and the start one right here. Anyway, save. We'll do a freeze, and we're going to do a test run of this bad boy, just to make sure it's good. So the part we're judging first is from pretty much the start to about when this ends, pretty much. That's unique. Save. Be better. I like to kind of make it so you're more in the seat. That. Now since the falling station has no block, what I do is usually hit F4 and go to manual block here. And as a side note, the way it transitioned into that was pretty good. Into the lift hill, it's pretty good, and I think the steepness is kind of right for that. So we're going to do. Well, first off, actually, we're going to turn on the full manual here. Yeah, let's go. I forgot to turn the night mode off. What? Didn't the speed say it was going at a certain speed? Hang on a minute here. Oh, I know why. Hang on. Laugh my ass off. Yeah, the speed was going about 27. I probably messed something up. Oh, I know why. Because you know what it is? It's not a complete circuit, so it's kind of like messed up. Watch here. If I even actually put that block here. Second time ever making a dive coaster. Perfect coaster to show how to do this stuff. It's perfect. Put a brake run there. But at least we know the first drop and the transition to the lift hill is perfect, I guess. All that's good, it's just, it needs, I don't know, more. Try thinking, shall we? Well, before I waste my time here, let me do this. It goes incredibly slow over the over that, so I might have to fix that a little bit. I find that interesting. Yeah, then it just crashes. Okay, so it makes it over it, sure, but it's very slow. But meanwhile, it boasts the fact that it's going 27 or so miles an hour over it, but it's not. So we're going to have to lower this by a few feet at least. We're going to have to make it a bit more compacted here. I find that interesting. But this needs to be a bit better too. This needs to be like kind of fixed. But this roll is perfect otherwise. The first drop is perfect. The lift hill is perfect. It's all good. It just needs a little bit more. That's all. This needs tweaking before I can move on. Freeze. And we're gonna. I'm actually gonna change this so this is a transport. At 6 miles an hour. Okay. And I don't think I can change this. So if I made this like, I don't know, like 5 miles an hour or something, I can't, yeah, see, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter, so. Okay, it's okay. So for this, to fix this, I have to move this one over a bit, that vertex in the middle right there. So let me do that real quick. I have to like do this, wait. There we go. That's actually a lot better. That's kind of what I'm looking for. We should have the G forces here. So this should be a lot smoother going over that. So to make it better, I have to lower it now by a few feet. So let me do that real quick. So down, down. Do a save. Maintaining about 4 Gs throughout the whole thing. It only gets lighter as it goes top. It's pretty good. Though I think I lost some of the teardropping shape, which is not good, but this will do. There we go. Perfect. Now we're ready to move on, I think. Or should I do an... What do you guys think? Should I do another test ride? Or not? Okay. So, let's see. One of the last things I think would be best to do is probably do a helix of some sort, going around like this, and then one final one going to the station. I know that sounds incredibly short and stupid, but oh well. I mean, like I said, this is nothing that's too crazy and anything like that. Let me just double check something. Okay. So now let me do the helix, I guess. So helixes are fun to do in the sense that they're simple, you know, and they're kind of cool looking if you do them right. I like to do them in the top-down view, and then I like to kind of adjust the height of them in here, and then mess with the banking here and the perspective. So there's many different angles. Yet another advantage to having 4 angles, in my opinion. So straight and just curve around like so. Actually, we'll wait until the end. Man, those G forces, man. Wow. Anyway, so let me fix this up here. Get rid of that one. Yeah, I can get rid of that one. In fact, I got rid of like one of the ones that. Come on, there we go. A little finicky, but I got it. So, since this is a dive coaster, you kind of want the helix to be nice and spaced pretty good to avoid any potential collision or anything like that. So I guess let's give it a height. Very rough shape. We're gonna use the smoothing tool on this. It looks absolutely ridiculous right now, but hear me out. Okay. Now we use depump. Use it once. And obviously that looks a little too high for my liking, so I might have to lower that by a few feet. Well, let's start by reducing some of the G forces so I can get a good feel of how to go about this. So, the lateral G forces and subtract 10, or 8 really, in this case. No laterals, subtract, or plus 10, I'm sorry. Same case here, no laterals, plus 10. Okay. As you can see, it's a little crazy. And the flow of it is pretty good. This might have to be shifted over by a few feet too in order to accompany the bumpy. There we go. And depump. Sweet. So now this could be a little closer to the 0G. A little closer. Not very much though. Let me see here. Ooh, oh no. You pumped that one vertice. That appears to be pretty good. Just go into track just for fun here. Oh, I got started at the beginning. There's no way around that. Okay. So here I just encountered a problem here. It seems to be a stall now instead of an actual roll. So to fix that, you kind of do that. And since okay, now here's the second problem. Since it does exit in this way, it exits from that and then it re-enters the banking again. What you do is kind of just oh wait, no, that's wrong. Do that. You kind of do the banking from like right there, like so. You kind of you make the helix like that or something, you know, like watch. I'll do it. I'll talk about it. You kind of okay. And just for fun, we'll depump this one more time and see where it takes us. And if it's not that good, I could just do it myself. I only really use a depumping around helixes and like some inversions, like where it would be kind of necessary. Um, Stuff like that. There's G forces here, about 4. That's good. Now back to this view, and we're gonna make a dip here. We're gonna have kind of a second helix go off in this spot. And we'll make this be strict. We'll move it forward to reduce the G forces on it, like so. And again, we're going to depump this, so it's not so bad. All right. Maybe this is a bit too far ahead, so maybe about there would be good. Yeah, perfect. Sweet. And then, last but not least, another type of, not as dramatic as this one. In fact, I might actually tweak this a bit. I'm thinking about it. Because it kind of goes up and then kind of stalls. I feel like it should be a little more gradual of an increase instead of going and then just a curve like that. It doesn't look as good. try 34. A little too low. 35. Cool. That might be a little too much, but I think I can get away with that if I just push it in by a notch. There we go. Sweet. Save. Alright. So now the helix is a little bit better. It's a little more gradual instead of just going all the way up like that and kind of stalling around here. I might make this spot a little. There we go. Okay. Sometimes I misclick that and my jaw just drops. I'm like, oh no, not the don't close the park. Anyway, go around like so. We're just gonna line it up with this, and just kind of make this a little more not ugly. A few feet. Connect. Yeah, the coaster's done. Everyone clap. It's so simple in design, but I mean, it's yeah. Oh man, it's just it could be improved upon by a lot. In fact, I was kind of half thinking about making it so it would kind of turn here instead, but oh well. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not too crazy of a layout. Just to kind of show an example of how I make stuff. So here you want that to be strict. You don't want to have any curves on your thing. No lateral G's. $71, eh? This is a good point, whereas I think it's probably best not to have a strict vertex here. You're probably best kind of just leave it at 0. At about there. So maybe about here, and then kind of just not delete that one. That's probably wrong. Probably move it up a bit. And I'm gonna depump these vertices here. There we go. Perfect. Save. Perfect. All done. Super simple, yet probably something I'd honestly ride. This looks like a little fun ride. Anyway, so now it's time to actually tweak the brakes a little bit here. And just check out the speed of what we're going at here. So we're coming in at the brake at about literally 50 miles an hour, and we're braking to... It's gonna probably crash into the station, so we're gonna have to increase this by a G, or into 1G of the acceleration. Wow, this is really fast. Might even do like 1.1 or like 1.2 or something. Okay. Save, and we'll do a freeze. Actually, before I did that freeze, I should have probably done something real quick. Anyway, so yeah, this looks about right. I need to fix one thing real quick. Yeah, catwalks. Okay. Now I can freeze it. And let's take a ride, I suppose. See how much I need to tweak. Let's put the reshade on just for fun, you know? Again, it goes a little slower around that. Might need to do a bit of tweaking with that. And it goes, okay, so the way it banks out of the helix, or it banks, not the helix, I'm sorry, the 0G into the helix is perfect. The way it goes into that was perfect. I was very concerned with how it would come out of it into the helix, but it banks out of it so perfectly and kind of forces you back into it. Like it's kind of like a little tease. It's kind of like, oh, we're done. Nope, back into the helix. You know, back in that same direction. Now this is actually a decent example of a dive coaster that has good flow in the sense that it comes out of the dive, or not the dive, the implement at such a, wait a minute. Okay, it looked weird from over here. It looked like it was kind of straight here, but it's really kind of not. I don't know. Anywho, what I was getting at was has good flow. It's an example of one has good flow because it comes out of the in a perfect way, and it goes into a 0G in the opposite way it came out, and then the way it comes out of the 0G into the helix, it kind of just stops it a little bit, but it doesn't go back to zero. It goes to about 30-ish degrees, and then it enters the helix. But it kind of goes right into a curve, kind of. It doesn't stay straight for a while, if you know what I mean. And then this could be a bit. I can straighten this out a little bit. Same with the end here. And then other than that, this is kind of a not a perfect coaster, but it's a good example one of kind of how I make rides. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. This is one of the quicker rides I've made. that I actually kind of enjoyed making for once. Uh, Anywho, watch it from a distance just for fun. Uh, See, as you can see, it's about 18 miles an hour at the top of that. So in a sense, it's actually good. It just appears to be slow. About 17 to 18 miles an hour is pretty good. Yeah. Other than that, it's pretty perfect. So, Stream, what do you think of the ride for simplicity? And also, as a side note, I don't use the reshade every time I turn that shit off when I work because it actually has a very nasty bloom effect. Anyway, so like I said, we're going to kind of straighten this out a bit over here and then start adding supports. Okay. So we're going to have to make this a bit more straight. Kind of comes out of a heart line. It's because of the way the turn is. Thumbs up. Seems good, yeah. It seems good, man. It's good enough. Okay. So now comes the time for supports. Supports, I usually do custom, or um, if I want to do like a specific type of support. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm only going to use pre pre-done ones. Now, I do pre-done ones if it's like like if it makes sense, like a dive double or a dive. Let me see here. Wait, let me find a twisted one. Here we go, twisted. A twisted single or a double is usually pretty good. Now I go to supports panel here, and I never do 16. I always do 20 or higher. 20s are better for slopes like this, and the closer you are to the ground, or I'm sorry, with that, the closer, or like the bottom of the hill should have more supports than the top because there's more stress being put down. So you want um, to be more supporting at the bottom. It's like this would be an okay amount, kinda, maybe a little over supporting at best here, but for the most part it's okay. Uh, anyway, so now we need a support for up here. I'll do a twisted 90 inwards like that. That usually works pretty well. Move it down just a tad, but there's a little problem. As you can see, it kind of clips through like that, so we're going to have to atomize the prefab here, and it'll turn it into a customizable one. And what I can do with that, move it over to here, so this way the dive coaster has enough room to go under. Kind of catch it now? Kind of catch my drift? Here is a bit bare though, I won't lie to you, but you can get away with that because there's not a lot of stress going up here. It's mostly just coming over here. You can use support, and then you need one like right here. For example, let me get this a double. Another twisted double right there. A single, one here, and then one there. Maybe a little closer together. Usually anything higher than like about maybe 20 feet would be nice to use a double. Something like this, or something that has a ton of stress on it, kind of like here. Like a helix has a ton of like really like hard stress going on, so you're gonna need as much as like supporting as possible without making it look ugly. So in a sense like this would be pretty good. Like to have 3 of these doubles right there, and then have one like right here, for example. And I'll probably have to move this up to about here. Kind of see what I mean now? Move this forward just a little bit. Should we have enough room? Move this up to about here. Here. Move this to about there. Add another support right there. So add a single right there. There we go. A single can go there. Build another single. Okay. And let's see here. I like to use these for the lift hills, really? Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry, wait, I'm stupid. I'm gonna point out real quick that this should be not 30, but 24. This should be 20. This should be 20. That could be 30. Yeah, 30. 30 is good. It shouldn't be. I highlight all the ones that should be 20. It should never really be 16, if you kind of know what I mean. Like, I don't know. I feel like those are way too thin. They become like toothpick supports, like you see in Rollercoaster Tycoon, and I guess Planet Coaster. So all these should be like 20, not 24. Oh man, I really should have made it so these are 20. I had to change every single one to 20. I should have done that in the support panel. I don't know why I did not. I'm stupid. Okay. I'm sorry, let's check something really quick. This one should be 24. Should be just a little higher. Okay, now to do the lift hill. Now the lift hill of some B&M's 5 coasters are... Don't really have a lot. Maybe like 3 on here would be good enough. In this case, I should just do a twisted double. Like, so like one here, one there. And then I need one support here. I could do a custom one. Going to, in fact, so we do that real quick, and then atomize it. I'll change it. Anyway, so this very top one should be, I believe, 36. That should be 30, and this one should be 24. And the reason why these are so spaced out as opposed to the ones at the bottom, as I'll reiterate just for fun, this is under high stress. It's going like a little more than 60 miles an hour at the bottom here. That's a lot of like, force going into that. Whereas above here is like nothing. It's being transported over this, la di da di da. There's nothing really going on. So you're allowed to have, a little. It's better not to over support stuff. It looks ugly, and manufacturers save money by doing that, by strategically kind of placing the supports in specific areas. It would just cost a lot of money, like it wouldn't be worth it to like just spam supports everywhere, and it would just look ugly. I'll put this up pretty high. Okay, I'm not really looking to show it be looking good. Okay, so freeze. Do a test look and we'll wrap up the supports and we'll call it for the stream. Next time will be scenery. Okay, so I take a look at the supports here, and I notice that some of them are weird, to say the least. Okay, like I noticed some of them are a little off. Like this is perfect. The thickness of these supports are good. They just need to be tweaked, as in it just needs to be I need to change where they're located, and some of them are too thin even though I changed them to 20-inch. Do you guys kind of see what I saw? See what I meant about them being toothpick supports? They're a little thin, Even at 20, I could say they're a little too thin, so this could be better off at 24, for example. As with this one. That just looked weird, so let me see if I can fix that. Actually, let me rephrase that. Let me see if I can actually move the whole support out a bit, because down. Okay. And there was one more. Oh yeah, this one right here. This has to be moved back. Like that. Okay. Save. And... oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta do the 0G. Okay. Shouldn't be 30. Actually, maybe it could be 30. I can get away with it being 30. I would need to freeze this though to make sure it look weird. Let's freeze the track and find out how it looks, and then if it looks good, I guess we'll call it for a day, or we'll do some more fine tuning. That's new. That looks really weird. Anyway, so this is the gist of a dive coaster. Pretty much, it's Again, it could use some more refinement, but this is basically what one could look like. This is a potential layout that I could probably use. We'll ride again just for fun. In fact, we'll ride at the farthest most seats. Wait. Seems to be pretty good. Or just a, simple coaster. So yeah, that's basically how I kind of go about making a roller coaster no limits. That's a simple way of doing it, really. For more for a more advanced project, I take a lot more care and I put a lot more time into it. But this is, but that's that would just take hours of me to explain and do, and I don't feel like doing that. I just wanted to show how I just simply how I can make a simple coaster. Something I've never really done before. Actually, I never made a dive coaster no limits. This is the first time, or second time, sorry. And so I hope you at least enjoyed the stream and the video. I guess that'll be up later. So see you guys later, I guess.